You change the formation, you change the connections, right? The neural connections, the pathways in the brain, the neurological pathways now go stress, food, feel good.
Right.
Quote unquote, right? Because you and I know there is no feel good. Because most times I've heard it by people say, I don't even like what I'm doing right now.
Let's go. You are incredible. Your body has a purpose. Your life has a purpose. You were designed to live the best life possible.
It's Thursday and we're back with another episode. What's going on, everyone? This is David Hernandez and you are tuned in to listen. You're not defeated. Before we jump into today's episode, I just wanted to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the little bell for all the notifications. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so you can get notifications of our new episodes. Today's episode, we are bringing in another Tuesday Live. Just to remind you, we've started a Facebook group where you can connect and just get insight that can help you through your health and fitness journey. So today's episode, we are going to share that live. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's episode. Mic check. Mic sound okay? Camera 1 good? Camera 2 good? All right, here we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday and we are live on Facebook. How are you doing, Allison? Brand new week.
Yeah, pretty good. Yesterday, it was a nice little extension of the weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of got some rest, went to the pool. It's warm here, a little warm here for a couple days. Then we'll go back in the 70s, but take advantage of that. Cool. How about you?
Very cool. It's going well. It's going well. We had feeling better, had a little procedure done on my neck today. The past 4 years, I've been kind of battling a lot of neck pain and nerve pain and muscle pain, and weren't quite sure to figure out why or what was causing it. 2018, we had a trip. I went on a mission trip to Haiti. I came back and was rushed 5 days later to emergency room. I was 11 days in ICU fighting for my life. Turns out I had 3 tropical viruses and made it through alive. God spared my life. But after that, it's kind of like my body has just been in such chaotic shutdown, muscle fatigue shutdown, nerve pain. And so anyways, long story short, we finally gave us a diagnosis and it's cervical stenosis, which is kind of a narrowing in the neck. And that narrowing in the neck is kind of one of the vertebrae is pushing into the nerves there in my neck. So the neck being the cervical, different vertebrae there. There's 7 vertebrae and my pain is coming in between 4 and 7. So they said the best thing to do was because pills and medication weren't helping it, for the best option was to go and inject inside the neck there to relieve swelling and hopefully calm the nervous system so that it could just bring some relief.
Well, I hope that works because I can imagine that is wearing on you after a while, right?
It is 4 long years, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Right.
This is a temporary relief, obviously, still believing for God's full healing, but they did 3 injections on my right side today. And then Monday they'll do 3 more on the left. And then in 3 weeks, they're going to do 3 more somewhere else. So it'll work out. We're here. We're alive. We're
healthy vibes and positive thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And you had a recent birthday from your son.
I did.
You got a 10-year-old son.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yes, Dave. I have a 10-year-old now, which is mind-boggling to me because I don't feel like I could have a 10-year-old, and I don't feel like the days are long, but the years are short.
That's right.
And someone told me that, and that's very true because on a daily basis, it doesn't always feel, like it's going by that quickly. But yes, we're also starting summer. My kids are home. So as I may have mentioned before, I have a 5-year-old and now a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And we're home now for the summer.
Very cool.
So
that's exciting.
It'll be fun. It'll be challenging and fun, all wrapped into one.
Yeah.
as I'm sure lots of, parents or even aunties and uncles and all that.
Grandparents.
Yeah, can really understand and relate. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's a different type of schedule. It's a different type
Mhm.
of life. And it brings with it some really fun and exciting,
Yeah.
times and memories. But yeah, also some challenging, schedule, less schedule,
Yeah.
sometimes less structure, can also throw you for a loop in some things too. So I'm kind of
Well,
about that.
this is a great opportunity for some health and fitness activities to be introduced to the kids, right?
Yeah.
They're at home or into summer camps. Or I remember a couple years ago when I was living in Lakeland, we used to do a summer youth boot camp. So we'd actually was done at Cynthia's house in the heat, in the Florida humidity.
Oops.
And we did it like right in the middle of the day. It was hilarious. I don't know if Cynthia's on today, but if she is, I don't know who else is dropping in comments, but if she is, Cynthia, if you remember this, drop in the comments there. But we used to do it right in the middle of the day. And it was fantastic because we would get like 15 to 20 young kids, ranging from the ages of 14 to 18, that would go in and we would talk about fitness. We'd talk about nutrition. We'd do workouts. And it was just an awesome experience for them to start to find the love for it,
Fun. Yeah. Cynthia's commenting. It was lots of fun. Like, had a really good time. And we have our friend Crystal is on from last week.
Hey, Crystal.
With us.
What's up, girl? Thanks for tuning in.
A lot of people just starting to comment and check in.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a good time to kind of start to try to implement some of that stuff, with my kids, now that they're a little bit older and they can do a little more of that organized type of thing, and even just riding bikes together, walks together later because they can stay up a little bit later, and the sun is out longer. So definitely kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah. And I think it's all about making it fun for them. Potato sack races, right? Tug of war things that they could do, relay races of some sort, using puzzles, using scavenger hunts. Like, it's really about getting them out and exploring their own way of fun so that they can fall in love with exercise. Because look, we've talked about this. There's a big misunderstanding as to what exercise is. They think, oh, I can't go to the gym, therefore I can't exercise, therefore I can't be active, therefore I can't do anything.
Right.
No, that's wrong. There's so many other things we can do that don't have to be related to the gym. Look, if anything has taught us that, is COVID.
Yeah.
Being stuck, not being able to go to the gym. What are we going to do? Just like sit around and not do anything and allow life to just kick us in the butt and like just get old and overweight by doing nothing? No, there's so many opportunities, right? Walking, going outdoors, hiking, biking, swimming, right? Come on, it's hot. Enjoying that. Going to the beach if the beach is close so you can do some volleyball, play some racquetball, play some badminton. I mean, there's so much. So it's really about it, encouraging them to explore their own fun of exercise and activity, right? So parents, go out, explore some fun. And if you can't do it because you have to work, well, find a program for them. And if that's still too expensive, find a friend, a church community. There's stuff going on at different clubs in the area, different YMCAs, even YWCAs. I know it's a great organization that encourages kids for that. So look, try and find some good activities that can be done for the kids.
That's a great point.
Cool. Well, if you're tuning in, drop in the comment section where you're watching from. Thank you so much. Today is Tuesday. Every Tuesday we come live, Allison and I, and this is for you all. This live is specifically created for you, the community, to provide a platform for you to get answers. Look, there's so much information out there, but there's also wrong information because it's not necessarily the information geared towards you. So here is a platform where we give you the attention, the platform that you can come in. It's a support system to bring you answers, to encourage you, to motivate you, to give you insight to root struggles, root problems that are the real core component of why maybe today you're living in an unsatisfied, unhealthy, unpleasant, or just not really living the fullness of life that you want. So utilize me, my 15 years of expertise. I'd love to give you instructions and just guide you to your process. I want to serve Allison as a current student and client of mine who has just done an incredible transformation in just taking control of her health, of her eating habits, of putting an end to emotional eating, of just starting to now live and tap in to the life that she truly desires after, 40 some years of life, right?
For sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what do we got today as people are kind of dropping the comments? Any comments, anyone else where people's tuning in from? And then I know we have a couple of questions for today's episode, right?
Yes. We got some information or got some questions from some people kind of just interested in getting some more information, kind of sharing some information, briefly about where they're coming from.
Okay.
What I think is a very common situation, which is one I found myself in, as I was struggling and trying to figure out, what I was going to do to get to a place where I wanted to be, because I knew I wasn't there. And what it's kind of coming from is these questions about like, okay, I've struggled with how I eat, with what I eat, with the amount I eat, and I've done this research. I know this information. I know what I should be eating. I've tried these different eating programs, whether it be Weight Watchers, whether it be doing keto, whether it be even Jenny Craig, or these specific 21 day, like just anything you can think of, that these people are sharing that like they've tried these things. So they have this information, yet when it comes down to it, in the end, they're still struggling. They're still not able to do it. And they're wanting to kind of know, like, where is this disconnect? Like, where is the problem? Because there's a difference between not having information and maybe just needing some, logical information about like, this is why we should be eating this type of food. This is why this is a good way to do it. Or, people trying strictly intermittent fasting, so this is when I should be doing it, and they're trying to implement these things, but it's still not working.
Got it.
So they're asking like, what is this other aspect of this? Like we're trying to do the eating or we're exercising, but is there something going on? And this kind of feeds into what we've started talking about this stress eating or emotional eating, or what we can call disordered eating in some way, shape, or form, whether that be too much, too little, too often, not enough,
Good point. Yeah.
This disordered eating, is there a psychological aspect to that? Because it is so tied into, and whether people realize that or not, the emotion factor. Why can't I seem to make progress when I have all this information? Like, is this psychological in nature?
So just to see if I understand the question correctly with what they sent in. So they're expressing how they've tried so many things. They have insight as to like what it is they should be doing, and they've tried to take action into those things. But in regards to like the overeating or the emotional eating piece, and what this person labeled as eating disorder, which it is, right? Just to kind of give it a label with no shame or judgment attached to it. It's just, we're giving it a name. Is the question is this particular situation a psychological problem?
Yeah.
Is that just so that I make sure I have it correct? Yeah. Okay. Great question, by the way, whoever submitted that. I think it's a fantastic question that many people could probably will relate to this, or have probably had this question. I know this was a question that you had very early on coming into coaching together. Definitely. It was like, what's happening here? What's going on? Like, I have all this information. I've researched all this stuff of what it is I need to be doing, but like, why does this continue to happen?
Yeah.
So to answer in a very direct way, and then we'll explain the whole aspect of what that is yes. Any situation that is regarding overeating, right? Not eating enough, right? Under eating, right? Eating disorders such as emotional eating, stress eating, binge eating, even bulimia, anorexia, right? All of these things that are related to food, whether again, too much or too little, is a psychological problem. Now, I want to just clarify something. When I say psychological problem, it doesn't mean that you have a mental disorder that is making you be like really on the other end of the mental disorder spectrum, right? Which again, there's no shame there, right? Either. If you do have been diagnosed with a certain mental disorder, whether that's schizophrenia, whether that is being bipolar and things like that, when we're talking about it being a psychological problem, it is a psychological problem. Why? Because it all stems from here, from how we have psychologically built our relationship with food and how psychologically we have developed this connection with food. Because last week or 2 weeks ago, we talked about how, let's just get plain and simple. What is emotional eating, stress eating, overeating, or binge eating, all that? What is it? It's learned behavior. Right. It stems from us at some point, which 99.9% of it stems from our childhood. How we were taught to deal. There's two facets here, right? How we were taught to deal with our emotions. We saw it. How did mom deal with her emotions? How did dad? How did grandma? Right? How did the person that raised me, whether I was raised in a foster home or whatnot, how did they deal with their emotions? How did my friends, how did teachers, how did colleagues, how did people around me in my surroundings? We spend the most time in two areas, school and home. Right. These two core components areas are what's going to influence how we deal with our emotions. Yeah. Which then also is, well, who are we surrounding ourselves with, right? Who is around in our environment that influence that? And then the second piece is influenced by how we are taught to deal with food. Right. So these two areas, we learned that from a young age, and it literally stems from being born up until 7 years old is the strongest, most forming years of us as human beings. In this stage is what's going to dictate what we do at age 8, 10, 15, 20, so on and so forth. Right? Now, a lot of all of that can be also changed to a certain degree, right? So going back to this, it is a learned behavior. You learned how to express your emotions, let go of your emotions, deal with your emotions. So if today you are in a place that emotional eating, stress eating, some type of eating disorder is part of your life, you have learned how to do that. Right. Which means that in that you have now rewired your brain. You have now impacted your psychological aspect, right? Your brain, your psychology side of life, your neurological formation of yourself, of your brain has now been impacted and now has been formed and shaped to get you today to continue to live in that lifestyle. Sure. So the more we do this specific behavior, what is that? Let's go back. Behavior in the sense of when something happens to me, I show behavior immediately after something happens. Right. It's going to dictate either how angry that person is, if that person's sad, but how is that person also dealing with what the person is experiencing. So if you today are stressed and immediately you get this urge to want to eat, you then eat, that is your behavior. You're demonstrating that when I am stressed, I release my stress with food, or I try to find my comfort with food, or I try to find some happiness, some joy. I try to feel better with food, right? Distraction. So, absolutely. Distraction. That was a big one for you. Yeah. Yeah. Right? For sure. And so the more we repeat this behavior, that's what I mean by behavior, the more this order of things, right? What is behavior? It is an order of things. It's a sequential order done in a specific way repeatedly. That is to paint a picture of what behavior is. It's me doing something in a specific sequential order repeatedly, over and over, over and over, right?
Yes.
So when that is done over and over, we are literally impacting our brain. And how is it impacted? It's impacted in two forms. Okay. One, when we eat, and typically the foods that we're going to when we're stressed or when we're angry, when we're emotional, or when we're in this eating desired state, again, we make it jokingly, right? We're not going to go grab a head of lettuce, go grab a bowl of broccoli, right? Go grab a bowl of cauliflower, carrots. No, it's typically food that is high in sugar, high in fat, processed foods, frozen foods, your chips, your burgers, your fries, right? Chocolate, sweets, ice creams. So what that does is when we consume that, because we've learned to do that at some point in our life, when we do that, it automatically impacts our reward response area of the brain, which is known as dopamine. We've all heard that, which is why when we eat, it's like, oh my goodness, this feels so good.
Right.
It tastes so good. And we even see it jokingly in the movies, right? Let's look at rom-coms. Let's look at, sadly, they always paint this picture in movies, in what they call chick flicks, right? Or in romantic movies, which I absolutely hate, because society has stigmatized women as emotional people. Therefore, they should deal with their emotions with food. It infuriates me.
And cannot
we talked about
it. Right.
Cannot control it.
Cannot control it. Right. And this is
terrible.
A natural, okay part of, how that
society in the world.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we see them, sometimes they're crying and they're like, oh my gosh, he cheated on me. How could he do this? Oh my God. And they're stuffing their food, their face with food. And they're like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. Oh, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. So even through that is how we're learning, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Through movies, through programs, through TV, all of that stuff, subconsciously, we learn that and we go and do that, right? So those foods, because they're high in sugar, because they're high in processed foods, which again is basically sugar. They're high in sodium and sugar is what I meant to say, not processed foods, but that's exactly what processed foods contain, sugar and sodium, right? They spike our sugar level, right? They spike sugar in our bloodstream, which right away fires the reward response. Dopamine makes us feel good. Oh my gosh, the more now we are doing that, the more the body is going to want it. So that's one. Now, the second reason it now starts to become a psychological aspect is that now it's also being impacted at a high level with emotions. So now that link is strong. It's because now that it's impacting our brain, your brain is being fired, your brain is being fired. Now you are starting to change the pattern of the brain on how it deals with things. You change the formation, you change the connections, right? The neural connections, the pathways in the brain, the neurological pathways now go stress, food, feel good.
Right.
Quote unquote, right? Because you and I know there is no feel good. Because most times I've heard it by people say, I don't even like what I'm doing right now. It doesn't taste good. Right.
Yeah. Like it might have that immediate gratification. You may have got that. And for myself anyway, when I first started using food to cope, or reward myself. That's another.
There you go. That's a big one. Yeah.
Not that we shouldn't, use food socially and enjoy it.
Of course.
But to the
when it's done for that specific reason, though, is what can start to become a problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that whole factor, after a while, it wasn't even gratifying anymore.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I was doing it, I knew I was doing it. And then it would be flooded with these other accompanying negative emotions, disgust, upset, guilty, yet I'm still doing it. And Cynthia's agreeing, she said I would feel guilt and shame even while I was doing it, that I still wouldn't stop. Because then
that's a really big point. Yeah.
Of like, well, this is what I deserve. I don't deserve more than this. You know, and that's a deep rooted that you might not be aware of, you know, or you might be vaguely aware of it in a certain way.
And you just said that, and I'm going to touch on that because it's such a destructive trap. And it goes like this. Hear me out. I'm stressed, just deal with the emotional situation, right? I go to food. Oh, I eat it. Oh, I feel better, right? Then after I feel better in the moment, quote unquote, afterwards, immediately it's like, crap, I feel guilty and shameful. Why did I do it? I'm angry. Now I'm angry again. And what do? I go back to food to try and feel better. And then I feel better. And then I get guilty and shameful. And then I go back to food to deal with it. It is a never ending, destructive, devastating cycle that I'm getting goosebumps as I speak to it because it is so destructive and is destroying so many lives that it is the one leading cause that is bringing 11 million deaths each and every year.
And people don't get the connection. They don't get it. They don't get that this is what's causing in most cases, this psychological thing that is going on is causing these health issues, and these health issues are then in turn causing death. You know, and that's just the physical. That's just the physical aspect of it.
Not to mention like what you go through before you die, right? The shame, the embarrassment, the lack of confidence, the negative thoughts, the destructive self-shame, self-hurt, self-inflicted pain, the being isolated, the not enjoying time with your family, not being able to play with your kids, not being able to play with your grandkids, saying no to events and activity, saying no to your kids' recital, saying no because you're embarrassed of what they're going to think of you, of what they're going to look at you as, the way you see yourself in the mirror, how you live in depression, how you feel, how you live in hate and hate of the world and hate of yourself. Like, y'all, Allison, listen to my heart, you all. This is a problem. This is a problem that we should no longer be ashamed of this. We should now just be in a state of, I am done with this. I hate having to deal with this, and let's do something about it.
I agree.
That is my heart cry today. If I give you a heart cry from now until I go to my grave, look, let's do something about it. You have somebody here that cares for you. I care for you. I love you. I don't want you to have to go through what my best friend went through and have to die because of this situation.
Right. Or, you know, and people might think, okay, well, that's an extreme. I'm not there.
Yeah.
I don't have to have gastric, you know, I'm not there, you know,
good point.
And I would trick myself into this and convince myself on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
It's going to be different next week. I'm going to start again tomorrow morning. I can do this, you know, and I would prep myself and talk myself into it, which is a good thing. It's good to have hope, you know, but that would never happen.
Yeah.
You know, and because I didn't have the tools and I wasn't dealing with the actual psychological, neurological, behavioral aspect of it. I just was trying to will myself to stop something that I had been doing, some of it since I was very young, and some of it more severely when I was in my 20s, which was 20 years.
Imagine that. Doing something for 20 years, what is that doing to your brain? What is that doing to your psychological aspect of self?
Yeah.
It is ingraining. It is just now like building these embedded roots and traits of this cycle. Stressed, food, feel good, guilty, more food, feel angry, guilty, right? Like then feel good and then guilty. Like this behavior sequence of patterns, it is so ingrained and so embedded. And because of neuroplasticity, like it causes that change in your brain, which then now literally you start to adopt that identity, that person which then now impacts your lifestyle. Therefore, you start to live out that because of the consequences of it, right?
And that's a really good point you make about the identity, because, you know, a lot of people are, you know, say to me, like, you're a very confident person. I can't imagine you would be, you know, not feeling good about yourself. You don't portray that, you know, like, and sometimes I would think, okay, maybe they think I'm being fake, you know, like, that wasn't it. What it is that, like, this is who I am, but that was part of my identity. Part of my identity was thinking to myself, this is just something you're destined to live with for the rest of your life.
Wow.
You know, you haven't been able to fix this for one way, you know, or a reason or another. And that's where I was at the point where I was just like, I had tried, succeeded, or tried, failed, or tried, succeeded, but then ultimately failed again so many times.
Yeah.
You know, and even being somewhat aware of some of these psychological things because of the therapy that myself, you know, I had gone through in my 20s, but still never really like addressed this was part of my identity, you know, and I didn't want to admit that. Or if I admitted it, it was as a joke because it was a sign of weakness. And it was, why can I not control the most basic aspect of putting food in my mouth? Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
I do feel that way.
Yeah. And I'm looking, Cynthia's agreeing, you know? Yeah. She tried everything. Nothing worked. And after so many years, you get to the point, but I guess that's the thing. Like, you don't have to be to that point to be able to do something about it. You know, if you can relate to anything that we're talking about, these techniques, yes, they are about emotional eating, but like, I'm also using them, both the understanding of it, about like anger, about getting upset with my kids, about yelling, like that's a behavior.
That's right.
Anger, like that
totally
trigger.
Yeah. Which is why when we go back to the original question, is it a psychological problem?
Yeah.
That is the cause of it. That is the root.
Right.
That is the reason why this is happening, right? And doesn't matter what all you try over here. That's great. I'm not saying not to keep doing it, because here's how it really should work. When we work on this, the psychological piece, and changing this identity piece of self, working on the inside of like how you've been shaped and taught, and like how you adopted the habits that you're doing today, how you adopted this behavior pattern and this behavior sequence and this way of doing things and dealing with things. When we focus on this core component, right, then as taking care of this, then now we can easily transition into all of this other stuff, right? Like learning how to make better food choices, learning what healthy options we should be making, understanding what is my portion for my size and the ultimate goal that I want to live, how to create for those that want to release weight, how to create a calorie deficit lifestyle, right? In terms of your nutrition, how to incorporate different meals that will speed up your process in your health and weight loss journey so that you can then be active. Then we incorporate the exercise piece, right? But what happens? It's not your fault if you've been doing this only.
Right.
It's the fault of the fitness industry and this world.
100%.
I'm going to be bringing on a very controversial YouTube video, which will be placed on the podcast and everything very soon, where I'm going to talk about the destruction that the fitness industry has been doing to every person that is stuck in this place. Because I have news for you. The fitness industry doesn't care about you. They care about your money, which is why they are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Yeah. Pushing pills, pushing diets, pushing potions, pushing surgeries, pushing all of this garbage to make money off of you, playing with your emotions, playing with your desperateness, playing with all of your internal conflict to get you to fall into their trap so that they can make money and they can next year bring on the next fad thing that is going to make you believe, right, oh, this is the one. No wonder. And then they word it so psychologically trapping,
yeah,
that you get sucked right into it. And then here we go back into this devastating cycle, right? So it's literally the fault of the fitness industry.
And they like to use this phrase now, which is true. So don't get me wrong when you hear me say this. They're using the phrase, it needs to be a lifestyle change, which is true, but they're not actually addressing all of the aspects that you have to address in order to actually change your lifestyle.
To make it a lifestyle change. Yeah.
If you can't change your thoughts, if you can't change your trigger, the way you react to your triggers, if you cannot change those type of things, it's not about changing your emotions.
Right.
Nobody's saying that you're not allowed to feel these things. Like,
no, absolutely not.
Human beings, like, we're going to feel these things, but it's how we deal with them, what they mean to us.
That's right. As a matter of fact,
right.
I encourage you through our coaching. I encourage you to be in tune with your emotions.
Yeah. Even more so than I ever had before, actually. Actually, it's the opposite. Yeah. I mean, it's the opposite. Like, let's really pick that apart and look at that, which sometimes is not easy.
It's not.
It's not. And that's why, like, I think I shared this before, like, I was just at this, like, brink of it, if you will, you know, where I was aware of these feelings, but I was not really aware, as I thought I was, of what was the underlying cause. Like, what was the, you know, under the surface things that were going on. And I think I just realized, like, talk about psychological, like, once I really, really understood those things and picked them apart and thought about them, even just that acknowledgement of them or realization of them, it was like this weight was lifted off my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's not to say it wasn't easy getting there, and I'm still working on it on a daily basis.
I mean, that's what makes it a lifestyle.
Yeah. Right.
You're now operating in the lifestyle of it, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
But it becomes now doable because without the training that we went through and like all the coaching that we went through, you wouldn't now be able to understand how I make this a lifestyle.
Right.
But that is why we've got to work on this piece first, the psychological aspect, the changing your identity, to looking at, well, how did I even start falling into these behavior patterns, these habits, these things that I currently do that are keeping me in this life that I don't want? When we address this, then we can easily transition into, okay, so now how do I sustain this new person that I'm creating here? What does this person do? That's why this is the concept of the be, do, have mindset. I'm sure many of you have heard about it. This is how it works. We first have to be the person. How do we be that person? By changing our identity, by focusing on our psychological aspect, by focusing on, well, what is keeping me in the place today in the person that I don't want to be? Oh, it's this. Okay, we address that. We fix that. Now we become the person. And then the next thing is, well, what does that person do? Okay, this is what that person do. This person makes this food choice. This person makes this portion choice. This person makes this habit choice versus this other choice. This person incorporates this activity, does this, works on this. Okay, cool. So now we can be and do, and therefore, because of that result, what do you think happens next? We now have the life that person has, which now becomes a lifestyle. And the style comes in when you choose to do it each and every day.
Yeah.
Not perfectly, because I'm sure there's people saying right now, okay, so that means I become perfect then. No.
Oh, right.
It's about doing it in your mistakes, right? As you continue to learn, but sticking to it, choosing to do it each day. And that is the recipe. If people are saying, well, what is the recipe of this? How do I do this? Look, that is the secret, quote unquote, right? Yeah. Not even a secret, but that is the formula for success in anything that we do. We're talking about health. We're talking about life. That is the secret in the formula of what it is and how to achieve that life.
Yeah.
Look, you're proof of that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and you know, again, like, it's this mentality I think that people have, like, you know, well, she can do it. that's awesome for her. Like I've had so many people like touch my heart with just saying to me like, you know, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is amazing that you're doing this and that you're sharing this. And I say to them like, yeah, but like part of the reason I want to do this is because I want other people to understand that like this is doable. Like, you know what I mean? It's not just because I am this type of person or it's not, you know, it's because of the process.
That's right.
And anybody can do this. It's just, there is no program like this that I have ever been experienced, made aware of, you know, on this level. And I guess that's, you know, why, again, it comes back to that same question. 100% this is psychological.
Yeah.
And even if you don't think you struggle with like emotional eating, even just some other things that you struggle with, like anger management.
Yes, absolutely.
The way you work
this is applicable to all of that. Yeah.
It really is, because it's that same underlying issue, why you behave in the way you do in reaction to these particular triggers.
That's right.
Like,
Perfect.
So psychological, you know, and even though that's both scary because you're like, oh man, now I gotta go deal with all my psychological things, you know.
But it's so rewarding. It's actually a beautiful thing, and it releases so much stress, tension, anxiety, because it's like, oh my goodness, now I find relief in this thing that I've been doing for so long that has caused so much pain to me, those around me, my partner, if I'm married, business, right? Life, relationships, in so many different ways. And like, even in the relationship that you deal with yourself.
Yes, it bleeds into all these areas. And I think until you experience it, it's very hard to understand that, because I didn't even understand that. Like, how is this emotional eating behavior impacting my relationships? But it is, because it all has to do with how I react, how I view myself in these particular relationships, in these situations. And that, when I finally understood that took this like sense of burden, you know, off of me, because I felt like, oh, well, this isn't my fault. This isn't because I can't control myself and I'm weak and I'm like a lost cause.
That's right.
You know, I was like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
it's empowering.
It is. These are things that I learned. And then as I started to learn more of like some of what you're sharing, like the actual neurological aspects of it, you know, why I'm doing this, what happens when I do this, and then even more relatable to the sugar.
Yeah.
You know, being addicted to that, and not just as a joke, you know, oh, it's like being, you know, people say, oh, in jest, they say, oh, so funny. It's like, you know, I have an addiction. I'm addicted to it, you know, and we laugh about it. You wouldn't say that about other things.
That's right.
But then once you realize that it's the same thing,
it is.
Again, it lifts this, you know, kind of window up so that you can get this breath of fresh air. Like, oh, this is something that I can unlearn. I've learned it. I can unlearn it. I can learn something.
That's it. In the same way we learned it, and how it was now, how it impacted our psychological, our neurological system, right? The formation in our brain, we can also change that in a very incredible way. And how do we do that? Through repetition. So that means that now, as we start to identify, well, what is it that's keeping me in this place? What is the root cause of this? What are the issues? What has happened that's brought me to this place? Then when we identify that, we can now start making the changes to that, to then start adopting a different way to deal with your emotions, a different way to release your emotions, a different way to cope with them, right? A different behavior pattern. Now the pattern that you're using in the behavior sequence is now going to change. And the more we do that daily, shutting this other behavior down and doing this new behavior, because of that repetition and neuroplasticity, which for years, many psychologists thought that it was impossible to change the brain in the way it did things. They thought that for years. But now they've understood that our brain is like plastic, which is why neuroplasticity, which means that through repetition, that's why some people say, well, how long is this going to take? I don't know.
Right.
Many of them say it's 21 days. It's really not 21 days to change the habit. It's 21 days to start allowing your brain to understand what is happening. And if you do not quit and you continue, they're estimating anywhere between 60 to 90 days, depending on the person, depending on how much emotion you're also putting into that, which is another topic in itself that I'd love to deep dive on that. Matter of fact, take a note of that, if you don't mind, Allison, that we can come back to in one of the episodes, like how our emotions together with how we do things impact our brain at a higher frequency, which will then cause us to get change to come faster, which is why, right, this emotion state of us feeling like we failed, right? Like, I just can't stop doing this. It's at such a high frequency, that emotional state, that when you're doing things, it's now causing you to feel like as a failure. And therefore you stay stuck in that. Why? Because the frequency in the brain is so high in that state that therefore the desire of wanting to change that is so much lower that you never fully get to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow,
so it's about understanding that frequency change that we've got to adopt to be able to influence and utilize our emotions to our advantage to create this neuroplasticity change through repetition.
Right.
It's not, oh, fitness industry has also failed. Oh, Sally lost 120 pounds in 90 days. Oh, well, if she did it, why can't I do it? Oh, Mark did this in 7 months. Oh my gosh, but I'm struggling and I can't do it in 7 months. Therefore, there's a problem with me. Something's wrong. So therefore, I'm a failure. I suck at this. So why even stop?
Yeah.
No. It just means that the neurological connections in what's kept him stuck in that place has probably been less than what you have been. He's maybe putting in a little bit more emphasis on the emotional state and the behavior of doing, the belief system that he has that is connecting everything together, which is now impacting the way he does things, which in essence now impacts the person he is becoming, which impacts the results he is getting. Do you?
Yeah.
Can you see like that's how different it can really be?
Yeah, definitely.
But it doesn't matter, because if it takes John 6 months to do it, and then it takes Sally a year to do it, right? But they both get the same result. Who cares? Right? Even if it does take you 2 years or whatever, right? Yeah. But I mean, I'm just talking about like totally different states, right?
Yeah.
But here the importance is repetition, that if we continue through this process repeatedly is how we can impact the change in our psychology and also in the formation of our brain to get us to change completely.
Okay. Yeah. I think that explaining it that way, I mean, I'm hoping that some people are thinking about this, because it's like when you said it to me and when I learned it during our sessions or during, the programming that I was going through in the academy, like it was like, oh, well, yeah. Like, duh, and then I'm like, it makes so much sense to you, but it's profound because most likely you have never thought about that. And that's not your fault. It's just because no one offers those type of information. It's like they work from like backwards, like you were saying, like, okay, I want to just get the quick fix. I want to get it done. I want to do this. And then I'll maintain it. How can you maintain something when you didn't really address the real issue? Like just because, So, I mean, I guess that reminds me of that too. Like if you don't deal with these psychological aspects, like you very well might have success. I did. I lost weight, released weight. There were times where, I felt like I had a little more energy or whatever, but ultimately it was never sustainable.
Yeah.
And now I understand why.
It never became a lifestyle, right?
No, it really didn't.
It just became this game that you're chasing to try to achieve this result. But it's like there's a disconnect,
And it was
from
exhausting.
you as a person to what it is you're doing. And because you get exhausted, you're like, because of that disconnect.
Yeah. It was like, oh, okay. Ooh, look, this is working. Oh, good. Okay. You know, and I learned some new aspects and some things, you know, I learned that were good, but in the end, that's why it never worked. It never really worked.
Yeah. Which is why when we really focus on this psychological aspect, right? Look, we're now starting to see big name weight loss companies start doing this. We've all heard, or at least most of you have heard of Noom.
Yeah.
Right. I've been teaching this concept on this topic for years. And they just now, several years ago, have introduced this platform, been doing it for over 15 years, right?
Yeah.
They've now introduced this platform of, lose weight the psychological way, right? It's like, I'm grateful that finally we're understanding that it's a greater issue. It's not just stop putting that food in your mouth, buddy. If it was that easy, we would not have an issue of this, and there would be no obesity in America, and there wouldn't be any health issues related to food. So shut your mouth. You don't know what you're saying, right? Like, it has nothing to do with that. It's a greater thing.
Right.
Which is causing not only health concerns, but it's causing mental concerns, emotional concerns, right? Yeah. Depression and sadness, and like so many thoughts of suicide and thoughts of anxiety and fear. I mean, it just goes on and on.
And so, let's not forget the habits and the psychological mindset that you're passing on. I mean, that was
such a good point.
I shared, you know, with my kids, like, I mean, even though I think I'm doing a better job because I know more, so I'm doing better in terms of, you know, expressing to my kids what are good choices, what are maybe not the greatest choices. And in reality, they were still seeing that behavior, and they were still in some way, shape, or form learning about that relationship with food. And so now it is so much more ingrained in the way I'm living my life, and then showing that to them. Like, that's another huge thing. Like, let's not pass this on.
Very good point.
Like, I don't blame my parents. They did the best they could. They knew the best they could.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do this. I don't want to teach my kids about having that relationship with food either.
Yeah. Because I remember I have conversations with many women that said, look, I want to be the example for my kids. I want to show them. I want to live. I want to give a good legacy to them. I want them to take good things from me. Well, this is the actual most powerful way you can do that.
Yeah.
Cool. We can leave them money, right? We can give them a business. We can leave them, you know, all this knowledge, teaching them how to maybe run your business, a family business, how to maybe handle all these other things. But like, if we're not living this legacy to pass down healthy life, healthy habits, healthy eating, learning how to make healthy food choices, living an active life, but like truly loving it and desiring to do it because you understand the benefits that you gain from it, you can now live this generation out and destroy the generational thing that has been repeated in your life. That because of that, you, again, did it lovingly, but they didn't do it any better because they didn't know how to do it any better.
Right.
You can learn how to do it better, and now you can change your kids, which is why I love working with women. 90% of the people that I work with are women. And they always ask me, well, why women? Why women? And many of them thought, oh, is it because you want to hit on them? It's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. Come on. Like, we're being professional here, right?
Like, please, people.
Stop that. No, it's really because there is so much power in women. And there is such a high grade of influence that was given by God or whatever you're believing in, the creator. Gave women that influence to be able to use it for good.
That's right.
And when I can empower a woman to take control of her health, to take control of her life, to change her way of life, to change her habits, to just adopt this lifestyle that's now like, oh my gosh, I love myself again. I mean, I'm in tune with my body. I'm working together with my body instead of against it. I'm no longer at war with my body. I'm no longer at war with myself and my thoughts and the way I see myself and the way I talk to myself. No, I'm in unison with it. I am working in a unity with it.
Yeah.
Now, you know what that can do for a family?
I agree. I 100% agree with you.
When a woman wants something, they're going to do whatever it is that in their power to achieve it. But not only that, they're going to do everything in their power to impact everybody around them. They impact their friends. They talk about it at work. They talk about it with their friends, right? That sometimes other people around you can take it bad. Like, oh, there she goes again, talking about it. Cool. It's good for you. But like, I'm not there yet. Right. Which I think you mentioned that a little bit earlier, but it's like, you impact your kids, you impact your husband, you impact your relationship. Girl, you can impact your generation, which is why I say we are able to build generational health in this way.
I agree with you 100%. And it seems like such a powerful thing that sometimes people are like, oh, come on. Yeah. Come on. You know, what come on. How does that relate to that? But I'm telling you, and we could spend an entire time, entire episode talking about this, like what it has given me, treating this psychological aspect of it, this psychological problem, what it has given to me in 4 months, 5 months is so like dramatic. You know, I can't say it enough. Like the areas of life that it has reached into, other than literally just putting food in my mouth, is amazing. And I just can't stress that enough, you know, like for all the things that you're saying.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Definitely.
Which is why I'm just so inspired by your story, you know, just your commitment, your dedication. Look, I'm the luckiest man on earth, right? Like I get to connect with incredible women like you, right? Like Cynthia and every other one of my students.
Yeah.
I have the best life in the world. Being able to coach and mentor lives to living a better life, to taking control of their health, taking control of their life, to then pass it down to others, to also encourage them to live a better life. I'm the luckiest man alive, you know? So thank you for allowing me to, just be a part of your life and to coach you and mentor you, and all of my students that I get to do that on a daily and weekly basis, and all of those that are to come, right? Yes. And even on this platform, like setting aside additional hour each week to just be here for you, the viewer, for you, the community, for you to know this is for you, no strings attached. Right. There's no catch here, right? There's like nothing here to try and offer you. This is just offering you service. Free information of value that can potentially impact your life and go to the life that you desire. I think we had another question, but look, if that's okay, we'll save it for the next episode.
Yeah.
This one question was just so powerful that I'm glad we were able to spend some time and just deep dive on that. So we'll save that question for next week. And anything else as we close before we wrap? I always like to leave with kind of our final thoughts with this. Any final thoughts on today's episode that you can share to the audience, again, regarding your own experience, the things that we've gone through in our coaching together, but more so anything that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, there's so much. I'm trying to think, I mean, it's like I have so much to that I want to share with people, that I feel so passionate about this, issue. I just think, like, start somewhere, start small, like it can seem so overwhelming. And when you hear someone share like their positive experience, like it is inspirational and it is positive, but sometimes it can make you feel like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to try because I don't want to fail again. And so I guess that's my point. Like, do something small, like listen to, the podcast episode, or hop on one Facebook Live and just, sit, and you don't have to be like, you can clean your counters, you can fold laundry, like you can just be. And this is something that you could do for yourself that, can just put you in a better headspace to realize, like, I deserve to be happier. And this is part of that. I deserve that, like, whether I'm a mom or not a mom, or, anybody, like, if you're in a place right now that you don't like and you don't want to do this anymore, and you're wondering, why can't I stop doing this? Or I'm feeling hopeless, like it's never going to be any different.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I want people to understand, that like it can be, but you got to start small.
That's right. I love that. Good point. Good point. Much wisdom in that, because you did that and it worked for you, and you're continuing to do that, right? I think the biggest step is reaching out, recognizing that, look, I've got a struggle here and I want some help.
Yeah.
I want to learn to do this right. And I want to learn how to put an end to this and really take control of the life that I want to live.
Yes.
Because it's very easy to lose hope, right? And say, I'm not worth it. I'm not this, I'm not that, right? But I want you to know you are worth it. You deserve the best. You should have the best. You deserve it. You are good enough. You are beautiful. You are incredible. You deserve to have the life that you desire. And we are here to support you. So know that every Tuesday we are here on Facebook Live, support system for you. If you want to reach out to us, look, they're in the description, in the comments. You're going to have all of our information. You can reach out to Allison if you have any questions about her own personal journey, her experience, how she kind of went through some of the coaching that we've been sharing with you guys in the last couple of episodes, but more importantly, like what her experience was like. And anything that you have questions that you'd like to address to her, please feel free to reach out to her. Feel free to reach out to me. Look, send us both DMs, send me a DM, send me your questions, any thoughts, comments that you have, anything that you have just questions about. Please, I'm here to serve you. Utilize that. Because there's so much out there that like, oh, what's the catch? Is he going to want something from, look, I just want to serve you. Allow me to serve you. Okay. And before we close, I just want to remind you, June 10th and 11th, First Sleep to Better Health. We are getting really close. If you haven't already registered, look, it's a 2-day conference. I'm focusing on this: emotional eating, stress eating, overeating, binge eating, boredom eating, right? I'm teaching you all of the back things of like how it really ties into us psychologically, understanding behavior, understanding neuroplasticity, understanding why I keep doing this, even though I don't want to, teaching you how to identify the root cause of what's keeping you stuck in that place, why you keep doing that, why you can't stop, teaching you how to identify your triggers and breaking that down. And finally, I'm teaching you the 4-step process that's going to walk you through how to take control of your choices, take control of your behavior so that you can start putting an end to it. Literally, just like Allison did, put an end to emotional eating, no longer have to go to food when you're dealing with emotions, and finally take control of your eating habits. Take control of your health by mastering those eating habits and just having the life that you truly desire. If you want more information, check there in the description. I'm going to drop it down, or in the comment section, firstsleeptobetterhealth.com. firstsleeptobetterhealth.com. Go to that website, register, get your ticket. There are still tickets available, and I hope to see you there. Remember, you are incredible, and go out and live your best life. Allison, as always, my friend, I love you. Another week.
Thank you.
You crushed it. And I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Night. All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one. And that's our episode for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and shout outs to all of the amazing individuals that send us your questions every single week. Look, if you have questions regarding to anything about what we've been talking about, or your health journey, weight loss, stress eating, binge eating, or anything related to it, look, feel free to send those questions. You can drop them in the comments here, or you can send them
to my email, listennotdefeated@gmail.com. You'll find it here, there at the bottom. And you can also connect with me if you want to have a deeper conversation on how I can support you, on how I can serve you, or if you simply have questions that you would like to deep dive on a more intimate, personal level. Look, connect with me on my website. You can visit www.davidhernandez.co. That is davidhernandez.co. You can find it here, there at the bottom. And also, let's connect on social media. If you haven't already connected with me, visit my handle, same handle on all social media platforms. That's at Dave K. Hernandez, at Dave K. Hernandez. You can find it there. And also, look, I'm here to support you. Okay, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also click the little bell for all the notifications of our up and coming episodes. And again, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast station, click the follow button so that you can also get notifications of our brand new episodes. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Listen, You're Not Defeated, and I'm your host, David Hernandez. Make sure if you haven't registered for my 2-day conference, First Sleep to Better Health, do that at firstsleeptobetterhealth.com. You are incredible, and I hope to see you there. Go out, crush it, and live your best life. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.